Okay, so this video I want to talk about how to introduce and teach decimals using 10 times 10 grid paper. So in other words, this is a base 10 block. That's what we're going to use to represent decimals. So fractions are decimals are kind of abstract numbers. Especially for decimals, we are dealing with very small numbers in abstract way. So a lot of times the kids having a hard time to build a decimal number sense because I'm not sure how big is this number, how small is this number, because it's very difficult to visualize. It's like they cannot see it, they cannot touch it. So that's why we're trying to use manipulatives to support those concepts. This is one of the way we are going to use it. So probably a lot of you and also your students already know what they are because they may have been using this for base 10 block to do addition and subtraction problem for whole numbers. So we are going to use the same tool because the relationship remains the same, right? So in whole number, we call them, this is how many blocks? This is 100 block. And how many block is this? This is 10 and this is 1. That's what we've been using for whole number operation. But today we're going to talk about the decimal word. So you can talk about in this class about this because mathematics we use a lot of symbols and there are mathematical promises. If you see this symbol, that means you have to add numbers. If you see this symbol, that means you have to divide a number. So this is all about the mathematical promises we made. So we can kind of set up a promise in your classroom. Decimals usually are talking about 4th and 5th grade level, so they can understand the new rules. So in decimal word, we are going to use the same blocks. But this is not 100 anymore, but this is 1. So we're going to use this because we are dealing with a smaller than 1 number that is smaller than 1. So we're going to use this one as 1. And what about this then? So when you look at the relationship, because relationship never change. If this is 100, this is 10, which means this is 10 times smaller than this. This is 10 times bigger than this. The relationship never change. What about this? This is 1, but in decimal word, how many times this is smaller than this big block? This is 100 times smaller than this block. So we are going to use this is 1 and this is 1/10, 1 out of 10th, right? So we then 1/10. What about this? This is 100 times smaller than this. Number relationship doesn't change. So we are going to call this number as 100th. That's what we are going to use in this decimal word. But in the standards, kids need to be able to read, write, and compare decimals up to thousandth place. But unfortunately, we don't have any symbols that represent a thousandth in here. So we are going to make a promise. You can use your own symbol. You can use a dot. But for this class, Dr. Kang's math class, we are going to draw a line and that represent what? 1,000th. So how many of this line do I need to make? 1,000, right? How many do I need to make my 100? 10, because this relationship is this is 10 times smaller than this. How many of these thousandths I need to make my 1/10? 100, because the relationship is 10 times smaller, so this is 100 times bigger than this 1,000. Do you see what I'm talking about? So relationship never change. But where we start, it has moved. But relationship, this is smaller than 10 times smaller than this. This is 10 times smaller than this, never change. To keep the relationship. But this is not 100. We are going to use 1, 1/10, and 1,000. That's what we are going to use for the decimal word, for the decimal operation. Okay, so you need to make sure that for each piece we are going to use for decimal word, and we're going to keep using the same concept to solve the rest of the problem. Okay, then now, can you then represent decimals using grid model? That's what we are going to do. Okay, we're gonna use grid model here. How do we read decimal? We need to read how to read the decimals, right? How do we read decimals? 0.1, 0.26, 0.336, 332. That's not the correct way to read decimals, right? So that's what we're going to practice in here. So remember the relationship here. You have 10 times smaller and 10 times bigger. So we are going to practice in here. So I want to represent 1/10. So this is how we read here. So standard says read, write, and compare decimals to thousandths. That's 5th grade standard in here. So 1/10. What does a 1/10 means? In fraction, 1/10 is that we're going to have 10 equal pieces and one of them is represented 1/10, right? So 1/10 is this, right? Okay. Also, we can use 100 grid paper. So this is 1/10. And where should I color it in? One-tenth. Right? Because this is 1 and 1, there are 10 equal size pieces and one of them I shaded. So this is 1/10. What about second number? How do we read that number? 0.26? No, that's not 0.26. We are supposed to read 26 and 26 hundredths. 26 hundredths. Okay, 26 hundredths here. So, what about the place value? What are the place value of each number? Okay, let's think about it. So 26 hundredths means if I count hundredth, so this is my hundredth, right? How many hundredths do I have? Yes, 26 of them, like whole number. So I'm going to keep adding. This is 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to have 26 hundredths. That's what I'm going to have. So 10 hundredths, 20 hundredths, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is going to be 26 hundredths. Good? So far so good? So let's write down, let's draw on here. 26 hundredths. So I have 1/10. This is a tenth, right? But how many tenths do I have? 2 tenths. So I'm going to color in 2 tenths, 1/10, and 2 tenths, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 26 hundredths, right? The place value of each number is that this one in here, 10 groups of 100, right? So 10 groups of 100, if I count one single one, and I'm going to need 10 of them, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100. 10 hundredths. Or I can have one group of 1/10. That's the place value here. What about here? If I count by hundredth, I'm going to have 26 hundredths. Well, if I look at the first number in here, right after decimal, that means tenth. Second number is hundredth. So I have 2 tenths plus 6 hundredths. That's what we have with the place value. So 2 tenths plus 600. 2 times 1/10 plus 6 times 100. That's the place value of the number here. What about the last one? How do you read the decimal? 0.332? No. If you read 0.332, it doesn't tell you anything about the place value of the decimal. Kids may not have any idea about what does 3 represent, this is 3 represent. It's very difficult to understand. You think about it, we have a number 33. We don't say 33. We read 33 because we want to say a place value when you say read a number. Same thing in here. This is not 332. This is 332,000. So how many decimal places always you have to think about your unit here. So I have a 300,000th place a number, so my unit is going to be thousandth place. This one I have up to hundredth, so my unit is going to be 2600. You have 1/10th place, so I'm going to have 1/10. That's we are supposed to read decimals here. Then so let's write down, read together, represent it together. Okay. So first number, how many tenths do I have? 3. So I'm gonna color in 3. 1, 2, 3. how many hundredths do I have? I have 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to color it in 1, 2, 3. Am I done? No, I'm not done yet. What do I need to do? I have a little number here, right? What's the place value of this number? Thousandth place. So remember that we made a promise. Whenever you have a thousandth place number, we need to use a new symbol. So we promised that new symbol we are going to use a line. So that a line that represents thousandth place. That's what we promised in the earlier rule. So this is going to be thousandths. So how many thousands do I need here? 2, right? So I'm going to draw 2 lines. So this is, we are supposed to represent numbers on the grid model. 1/10, 2/10 plus 600, 3/10 plus 300th plus 2 thousandths, which is we used to draw a line here. Does it make sense? So this is a kind of basic idea whenever you want to use a grid model when you introduce decimals visually. So this is a good way to introduce to show the number relationship. And also whenever they need to compare the decimals, can you tell which one has the biggest decimal? Which one is the biggest decimal? Which one is biggest decimal? Whenever they look at the area, the shaded here, the more shaded means bigger, right? That's the area concept. So I can tell this is 3/10 colored in, this is 2/10 colored in, this is 1/10 colored in. So I know that this is largest and this is middle and this is smallest just by looking at the picture. So it helps them to see decimal visually, help them to order decimals in correct way. Okay? Good.